Hi, my name is Nkolo PK and I go by the name Nkolo PK, which is pastor's kid. I was born in Middelburg, Mpumalanga, from a family of 6, and I am actually the last born, but I have a twin brother, Ubongane, and I have 3 siblings, which is my sister, Busisi Weshabangu, she's married, and my brother Solomon PK, he's also married, and then it was me and Ubongane. And yeah, I was born in a family of pastors. My dad was a pastor and my mom was a pastor as well. I had a very nice upbringing, and it was very, very, very nice, I could say. My family is so supportive. They love people. My parents really loved us and they really supported us. I enjoyed my childhood, and I am actually 24 years of age this year. I did survey engineering in TUT. I worked at Oricon in Pretoria, Linwood, and now I'm actually doing media. And yeah, all I could say is that I had the most perfect family anybody could wish for. I got everything that I wanted. I went to school with no obligations or anything like that. I actually had a really, really nice upbringing till this far. I grew up in Middelburg. We were staying at a mission house. My dad was a pastor firstly at Faith Mission, and then when we moved from there, and my dad opened his own church, which is Alpha and Omega, I was only staying with my brother Ubongane, and we were very close. Funny thing is that we didn't even go to the same school. We went to 2 different schools. He was attending a school in town and it was in a location, which was weirdly, and people used to ask us why. But I think it's because my dad wanted me to do isiZulu, because, when you're a parent and all your children are doing English and you don't even have one child who's even doing your own language. So my dad was like, no, you're going to do a Zulu language. And that's how actually I went to a location school. And then we were very close. We did everything together. We ate together. Everything together. When we come back to school, my brother would do everything for me. He would actually make me food. He would bath me sometimes. He would even wash my school uniform. He was the most sweetest person I've ever met. And we were very close. That is actually the only best friend that I ever had in my entire life, because he was the only person that I could talk to. Yes, we did like the same things. But not literally everything. But when it comes to clothes, definitely like the same things. If he sees a dress and he buys it, I definitely like it. And if I see a shirt and I buy it, he definitely likes it. So we had the same fashion sense, that I could know what kind of clothes he'd feel comfortable in. And he'd also know what kind of clothes I'd feel comfortable in. And yeah, but not in everything. Well, we both sang, so that was also something that we had in common, because every day we'd rehearse. He was playing keys and I would sing, and we'd sing all night. Well, not only the 2 of us, but the entire family. So we really loved music, because my dad and my mom were into music. So we really loved music, and actually it's something that he installed in us and that kept us going. And he's the one that actually taught me the basic things to play piano. At least now I know 1 or 2 things that I can just do on piano, and he's the one that taught me. And I never used to love it, but he forced me each and every day, come ngizokufundisa. And yeah, I'm really, really grateful for that. So when I was doing my last year in varsity, which was 2017, my dad got hospitalized. I remember it was in June. He was diabetic, and then he got hospitalized for it was June, July, August. June he was hospitalized in Middelburg, and then July he was transferred to Pretoria. And the whole time he was just in hospital, and that was the toughest time of my life, because I was working and I was also doing my last year. So, and on the last week that I had to go to hospital. I remember I couldn't go because I was preparing for my exam. It was an exam time, and it was actually my last paper that I had to finish. And you know, when you're writing your last paper and you just want to get done with varsity and everything. And then I remember my mom called me and was like, your dad wants to see you urgently. I rushed to the hospital. I asked at work and they released me. I rushed to the hospital and my dad was okay. We had a chat, we talked, and the next day we went, all of us, and I remember we were just gathered in that hospital room with my dad and my siblings, and my dad was like just blessing us and praying for us, and he blessed us and he prayed for us. And then day after that he was discharged. I couldn't go because I was at work. And my mother and my brother went there to pick him up. And then when they got there, actually died on my mother's hands. Well, I didn't know. And I had to go home. When I went home, actually in my grandmother's place. I went to my grandmother's place in Soshanguve. When I got there, I only found out that my dad passed away. That's how I actually knew that my dad passed away. That was the most painful thing I've ever had, because my dad was like my first love. I don't know how to put this, but he was like my best friend, and it's so difficult to lose a father, especially when your father is a father in so many places. He was a father at home, he was a father at church, he was my spiritual father and my physical father. So it felt like I lost two people at once. Fast forward to 2019, and then it happened on Good Friday. We were going to church, we went to church. My brother was from work. He came at home in the morning. We were already preparing for church. And then we went to church, everything was okay, everything was fine. We go to church, he was singing, playing keys. Everything was just okay, and everyone was just happy. And yeah, we had lunch together. I remember I forgot my earrings, so I didn't have earrings on, and it was like, I can't continue my day without earrings. And we went to town. He bought me earrings, and he went back, and we went back to church. And then he ate his lunch, and then he was supposed to go back to work because he was actually clocking in at around 6. And by that time, he was working at Brongospruit, so he had to leave early, like 2 hours before, so that he could start by his room first and prepare. And then he left. Both his phones were off, and he was like, he'll charge when he gets to work. He left. Everything was fine. We went to church. Everything was okay. When I got home, I tried calling him. I think I left him like 50-something missed calls because both his phones were off. And I know that when he says I'm going to charge my phones when I get to work, he's just going to do that. But that night he didn't. And I was a bit worried, but it was like maybe something came up. Then the next morning, because I remember I'd left my shoes, I'd left my things in the car, some of my makeup, some of like everything, because I knew that he was coming back. And then in the morning, when he was supposed to be back, he was not. I kept on calling him again. I called, no answer. My mom was worried. My mom was the most worried person. But at that time, I never thought something bad happened. At that time, I was thinking maybe he's still at work. Maybe he's too tired. He's going to come later. Or that's what I was thinking, because I was trying to convince myself that nothing will ever happen. And then we went to church on Saturday morning. Went to church. During the service, my mom went out. And then she called me. And then she was like, no, we cannot sit like this if we can't find Bongani. His name was Bongani. And then, because you know that situation when you're sitting in church and you're busy WhatsApping your mother and you be like, Bongani is not yet here. What are we going to do? Because it's so unlike him. And we ended up thinking of just going to just look for him at his work. Cool. And then we went there. They drove us to Brongospruit. When we were on our way, I thought of calling his supervisor. I was like, let me just call his supervisor and just find out what's going on. I called the supervisor. I think we were already in Witbank. I called the supervisor, and then his supervisor was like, "Bonnet didn't come to work yesterday," and that was a shutdown to everybody. That was just it. Everybody was like, we all lost it because we were like, it cannot be possible. And even his supervisor was so worried because it was so unlike him. It's a person who says if something is going to happen, person who lets you know if something is just going to happen or he's not going to make it. So everyone was just so worried about it. And we decided to stop in Witbank. Couldn't even get to Brongospruit. And then when we got to Witbank, we decided to go to the police station at Witbank. We went there, we asked them, and they told us that no accident happened last night. And the reason that took us to the police station, I was thinking maybe he was arrested because he had so many tickets, because I knew that he had so many tickets. So maybe I thought maybe they arrested him because of that. So let's just go check. And then the police station, they said we should just go to the hospital and check just for in case. And then we just went to check, and we were actually not checking because we thought something happened. We were checking just to find out if maybe, like, I just don't know why we went there, but anyway, we did go there. And when we got to the hospital, they said we couldn't find him as well. And they transferred us to another police station in Witbank. And then when we got there, they took us to the government mortuary at that same police station. And when we got there, we had to identify the body, and it was him. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. I think I didn't believe it for about like 4 weeks that my brother was gone. It was a bad situation. It was a bad thing that I don't even wish to my worst enemy, because it was so hard to even think that the person that I was with my entire life is no more going to be there. And I think that was hard. And thinking that, to me, it was more hard because I never actually really mourned my dad. And when my brother passed away, it was like a double explosion. And it was so hard. I felt like I lost two of the best men that I had in my entire life. And that was the end of it. So he got an accident when he was going to work from church on that Good Friday. It was around past 5 in the evening, because it was between Middelburg and Witbank. I think at some point I usually regret why I even identified him, because it's a picture that I see every day. It's a picture that comes to my mind each and every day. I think it's something that I'll never ever get rid of it, because it's captured, it's there, and it will always be there. It was me and my mother that identified him, and my older brother was there as well, and Bongane's father-in-law, because he was about to get married, so his father-in-law was around as well. One thing that my mother regrets was her giving him her car, because he was going to come back with his fiance, but my mom was like, no, here's my car, because it's just going to be convenient enough for you to get to work faster and quicker. And I think each and every day she regrets forcing him to take her car. That whole week I was literally not myself. People came and go and left, and I could say it was the hardest week of my whole life, because something was just happening, but I was not believing anything. And then on the day of the funeral, it was like I'm dreaming, because I've never imagined him dying at this age, especially. I've never even imagined, because we were waiting for his wedding for crying out loud. We were waiting to see him get married. Everything was done, dresses were prepared, venue was paid, food was bought, like everything was just prepared. And then the next thing, I had to watch his coffin go like down on the ground, and it was really painful. I couldn't look at it because I couldn't believe it. Like even after the funeral, I couldn't believe it. Like it took me, I think, a month for me to even believe that he actually passed away for real. And it's actually a painful thing. Even till today, I haven't even went to his grave because I can't even face it. I call him every day. Not every day, but oftenly. I try to. Sometimes I forget that he's dead, and then I just WhatsApp him, because he's one person that I could tell when something comes up. Like if there's something I just received or great news or anything like that, he was the first person I could tell. Or if I want to ask something personal, he was the first person I could talk to. So sometimes I just go to his WhatsApp and I would text him and I'd be like, yo, this is what I got. And I'd wait for his response and then nothing happens. And yeah, I think that has to be the most difficult thing ever. Because even today, sometimes I play his piano and sometimes I look at it and be like, Lord, maybe you should have just took us both or something like that. But I think God had a greater purpose and he knows better. Hi, I'm Nkolo PK and I have been through the most.